Welcome to the Cougar Land podcast. I am here with Melanie Dorado, the Sugar Plum Fairy, as I remember her. I'm sure you're like, you just sent me the picture the other day. That was great. We were in the play together, and I don't think I was ever pursuing acting as something serious, but you know, you did very well. Everybody remembers that because there was nothing else going on post pretty much at the time, you know?
What's really funny is that my mom made that costume, and I was really proud of that costume. I just loved that costume. And I remember my mom showing up for one of the plays in the middle of the day, and it was a surprise. And there she was right in the front row. And so here I was, this young kid just really focused on my mom and, that she was there and she was proud of me. And I didn't notice anybody else or think about what they thought of me.
No, you're like, this is for mom. And
Yeah.
yet you were in front. We had the whole the movie theater on post. That's where
Yeah.
we did our thing,
Yeah.
and I remember your brother and I, we were, trying to get stuff out of the vending machine for free. That was our entertainment.
So typical. Yeah.
Well, Nolan and I were getting some extra pretzels or whatever was available in the lower rung of those little spirals. But there was not much else. See, I didn't have a big part. You did. So you were always like, boom, boom, boom. They like, we need you again. We need you again. They're like, Len, come out here, say something funny. You're a nut in the Nutcracker. And I'm like, I can relate to that. Okay. Just,
Yeah.
not many lines, just some improv.
Yeah. It was fun.
Did you pursue acting beyond that? Did you do any more plays as you went into college or other
I
hobbies?
did plays throughout high school. And then, but we went back to Fort Knox in Oklahoma. And some other people were stationed back there too. Catherine, I can't think of her last name right now. I think you mentioned it when we talked on the phone. Blonde hair, and a couple other people were there as well. So it was kind of funny going from Vicenza there and having people I recognized. But I did do some plays there, but by that time I was just a small fish in a big pond. So nothing really
Didn't get
fantastic.
didn't get the same amount of Instagram followers, I guess.
Yeah, but I did get this one big role. It was kind of the lead female role. And by that time, my parents had divorced, and I was just a rebellious brat, and I was all over the place, and I skipped practice, and they gave my role away. I was devastated. Oh my gosh. But I learned a lesson.
Hanging out at the roller skating rink a little too much. I
Yeah.
get it. That's
Yeah.
well, you know what? That era was roller skate rink era. I mean, I went back to the States and we're going roller skating rink. I was in Kentucky. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go, man. Just go fast in a circle. I'm like, go fast in a circle. Wow, here we are. Go real fast. The girl might like you. I don't know. That was
My
kind of like
parents,
how I recall it.
I wasn't even allowed to go to the roller skating rink because my dad was afraid that I would leave and go hang out with boys. Which he was right. I shouldn't have. He was right not to let me do that. And the one time that he let me go was because I had a girlfriend spending the night, and I think he couldn't say no to her, so he took us and he dropped us off. And here we were plotting how we were going to get out, and not skating hardly at all, really just looking at boys and drinking soda. And anyway, I found him. I saw him through the crowd. He was like sitting there watching us. It was the creepiest thing ever. And I never went back.
You,
'Cause
you,
it's
you
like,
you
what
had
is
your own
this?
you had your own chaperone. You're
I
so
did.
fortunate.
Yeah. My parents were super strict. Even in Italy, I was like the one kid that couldn't do the sleepovers, like the sleepover birthday parties.
Yeah.
Um, and my mom had this idea that those were for high school students. And I think I finally talked her into letting me do one. And I actually had one at my house. I should dredge up those pictures. That was fun.
So what years were you there again? I remember you in elementary school, I think.
Let's see. I remember it by my grade. So I got there in the end of fifth grade. And then I did sixth grade with Mr. Pellerito. God, I love that man. He's still my favorite teacher of all time. And then I did seventh and eighth grade, and then we left. So that must have been around 79, no, 78, probably 79, 80.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Well, weren't you there to the 7th grade?
Yeah, 7th and 8th grade I stayed. Yeah.
Okay, so 5th through the 8th grade, just about.
Hmm.
That's pretty good. So
Yeah, best time of my life.
the range of years again, give that to me one more time because you lost me there in the middle somehow. But so
Oh,
it's
I think it
79 to
was,
80, 82 or something like that, or
I think it might have even been, isn't it? It's terrible that I can't remember. I think we got back to the States in 81.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So
Yeah.
what was your dad doing over there? Was he, in the army
Field
or
artillery. Yeah. Army captain.
so you
Yeah.
were you were basically a villagio girl? You stationed over in
Hmm.
Villagio?
Yep. And there were a lot of us living in Bellagio, and there was just this one street which must have had 10 of us kids living there. Gina and Dina Lewis, um, Kara Gordon, Kari Bendick, Catherine, Diane Del Rosso. Who else? Steve Cavoli.
Yeah, that
I
was like
think of
officers
off
row,
the top of
kind of
my
like
head. Yeah,
officers row, basically. Yeah.
it was. It was so funny because I remember that was one of the first questions kids would always ask you is, what rank is your dad? And
Hmm.
my dad was a kind of a low ranking officer. All those other kids, their dads were lieutenant colonels and colonels, and or majors, whatever. And my dad was a captain, so I always felt like, oh, because it was such a there was such a focus on rank, your
That
dad's
was
rank.
the weird. That was the weirdest thing about growing up there. We
Yeah.
didn't have we didn't have racism. We didn't have classism. We had rankism.
Yes.
That was kind of what it was. You kind of hung like, oh, we're at the officers clubs. Why aren't you kids there? Oh, his dad he's a NCO. He's a E8 or something, and he's over here
Yeah.
doing this. And
Yeah.
but we as kids, we didn't feel that. We didn't really look at each other so much by rank. Like, oh, I can't hang out with you.
No,
Your
no, it
dad's
wasn't.
an airborne ranger guy. It wasn't like that. But it was really
Yeah.
cool. I mean, you get to go. I know you get to go to summer camps because I saw you there and I was there and the
Mhm.
Yazlo thing, and that was
Yeah.
always very interesting. How
Yeah.
they keep us busy. I remember there would be, I think they had a roller skating rink. They had swimming during the day. We had the beach there,
Yep.
soccer games, all kinds of other activities. They kept us busy. The
That
only
was the best experience. I love that so much.
bonfire on the beach with the marshmallows, and then they take us out. It would always seem scary for some reason. They take us out to this carnival at least once. I went there a couple times, and this carnival just had an edginess to it. And I remember like popping up, and going, "Where is everybody?" I remember stuff like that would happen, and someone else had a similar story. Like they had to
Yeah.
find their way back to summer camp because they get
Oh,
lost trying to
that's,
watch all the kids.
you remember them checking us all for lice when we first got there? They'd look it through your hair, and
Oh yeah,
I remember that.
lice was a big deal back then. You
Yeah.
know, maybe some kid with dandruff. Aha, we found him. Like he didn't know. It could have
You know,
happened.
my first kiss there.
Ooh.
Yeah, Steve Cavoli. He ended up breaking my heart, but he was my first little boyfriend.
Uh, the Confessions of Cougar Land podcast.
Yeah.
I had quite the opposite situation there. I had a bully every year I went there, maybe twice. I had to fight bullies every year that I was there. I did well, but I was like, you know what it was like? It was like the movie Cobra Kai. Like the bad kids were coming. I'm like, I'm this guy,
Yeah.
Danny, whatever. I'm going to sit here like this, watch out. No, but no, I
They
was
could
like,
see now they'd be running the other direction.
it's so different though. I took judo, luckily, but there's like, oh, this kid from Livorno wants to fight you. He beat some kids with a steel pipe. I'm like, oh, great, this guy. And then, just stuff like that. I remember that was like the developing years as a young boy. And the one thing that makes it interesting is that we did go to junior high with the seniors. So
Mhm.
if hazing or whatever was in order, there was definitely like adult level children. And we're just like, hey, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of maybe here. And
Yeah.
so here they kind of separate the schools in the States more, I think. I don't know.
Mhm.
They have middle school or they have a different campus for the kids that are like maybe 7th to 9th grade kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I would. That's another thing I wasn't allowed to do was go to the youth. the teen club across the street from the school.
Yeah.
I would sneak there, but I wasn't allowed to go because there were too many older boys there.
See, that was the thing. Your dad was afraid you were going to get married. And,
That's exactly what he was worried about.
you know what? If I
My
let
man
him
is
know
getting enough trouble anyway.
he's going to get married, and well, you know, there could have been other things. There was always the GIs that were waiting around. There was
Oh yeah.
the guys back from college, and you know,
Mhm.
it was tough for guys stationed overseas because Italian women were very, very Catholic, and they were locked up on the weekend by their dads. Think you had it bad? Their dads were doubling down on the program. So there's a GIs. Yeah, let's go out meet some ladies. Okay, well, we're all going to end up at September's bar, 50 guys end to end, and then we'll end up beating each other up because there's nothing else to do. That's what I would see happen over and over.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
I'm sure.
that
There
was
was
the life.
there was this little pizza place. If you walked to Villagio from the base,
Hmm.
there was a little pizza place that would serve you beer, and they served us beer, kids. You know,
Yes,
yeah.
I
And
remember
I
that. You
do
did
that.
that.
Yeah, I did that.
Ooh, my kind of buddy here. Yeah, I was doing that too. Same place on the way to Villagio. I think it was like not Silver Cafe. I can't think of the name. Someone will
Yeah.
mention it in the comments, but it's that one little pizzeria as you're getting close to the church
Yep.
before you cut across the train tracks.
Yep.
And yeah, we used to go behind the wall of the church and drink beer all the time because no one would go there. And then
Yeah.
there was a communist bar, and we would go in there and play quarters, and they would look at us cross-eyed, and we're like, "Hey, what's up? Buona birra, per favore." And you know, we would bring in our own beer that we'd get some GI or someone to buy for us on post and carry it in sport bags, and then pour our beers into the beer that they gave us. And that was a great activity, but nobody was looking for you there. So, but that other place, yeah, I think my dad ran in on me once and said, "You're going home now." That place on the way to Villagio.
Uh-huh.
So, oh yeah. It was
Yeah.
always waiting for the other shoe to drop, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was
So,
thinking how different our life was there compared to my kids, because when I raised my kids overseas, and in 2011 we came back to Minnesota. We were in Minnesota. I'm in Hawaii now.
okay. I know that. I saw you there.
Hold on, I'm going to turn Alexa down because she's really loud.
Come on,
Alexa,
Alex.
turn it down. Sorry, I'm playing Christmas this morning because I was doing Christmas cards and making cookies. But anyway, so I was just thinking how different our life was, how we had the bus so we could get around
Mhm.
everywhere and we didn't have to rely on our parents to drive us. And, we could walk, and they trusted us to just walk everywhere. And I think we got in a little bit of trouble, but nothing like extreme, nothing that teenagers
Mhm.
everywhere don't get in trouble doing,
Of course.
Um, but it was a completely different life. It felt safe, and it felt fun at the same time, even with all the restrictions that I had on me. And it has stayed with me as one of the best times of my life. I will always love Italy. It's still my favorite country in the world, and I've been all over the world. Um, so,
How was it for your daughters growing up overseas? How did that influence them looking at them now?
well, my husband was a Peace Corps medical officer, so we were always in kind of third world countries. So it wasn't always super safe,
Hmm.
but it was always super interesting. It was really fun, a fun place. And we lived in Mongolia for 11 years. So that's really the home that they remembered. And when we moved back we always talked about coming back to the United States, and Minnesota in particular, because that's where my husband was from. And we had a house there. And so we always knew that's where we would go home to. And so we would show them where that was on the map, on the globe, and um, get them sort of primed so that they would be thinking of themselves as American citizens. Because, this whole, I can't even think, third culture kid thing is sort of a new concept that I don't know that we really thought about back
You didn't know.
that
Like, I wonder
time.
what how it's gonna turn out. Let's roll the dice.
Yeah,
They speak
but
Mongolian.
no, they don't. At the time, they knew lots of words. They couldn't speak fluently, but they knew lots of words. And the same with me. I mean, like, I could get around in a taxi. I could tell them to go straight, turn right at the light, stop here, how much does it cost, that kind of stuff. But we never had to learn to really speak fully. I took classes, but everybody spoke English. I think you find that in a lot of capital cities around the world. People speak English, and they still, even today, they love meeting Americans and talking about American politics. And so it was a very positive experience for them and for us. And the kids grew up thinking of Mongolia as their home. They didn't think of themselves as Mongolians. They knew they were American, but that was their home. And my youngest, in fact, still talks about getting a little tattoo of Mongolia. I don't know if she'll ever do it, but she may have grown out of that by now. She's 19.
Wow. I saw pictures of your daughters. Very beautiful girls. You did very well.
Thank you.
Yeah. They're just sitting there like, you're like, wow, I made these. Look at them.
Yes,
They're blossoming, right?
Skills. That I think the only thing that is, if I could say there was one thing I would change in my life, it's just that period of my life went so quickly. You know, I loved raising my girls. I would go back and live every minute of it over again, all the good and all the bad, if I could. Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me you were going to have 8 more or something. I'm like, oh, okay.
I would if I could. I would totally have more. Yeah. Now they just bring their friends home. And living here in Hawaii especially during the COVID period, everybody's struggling. And so we have a couple of what we call hanai children. And that basically means kids that you adopt, kids that you feed. That's pretty much what it is. And so we've got a number of girls that stayed with us throughout their high school years, come and go when they needed a place to stay, and who still visit us on a regular basis, and they have holiday meals with us. And, you know, it's cut back a lot during COVID, but they're still struggling. So we try to help.
That's very sweet of you. It's your nature, the deep empath.
They totally enrich my life. That's how I see it.
Right. So. I understand that. You know, it was really interesting to run into you over there in Hilo, because I was over there filming something for a friend of mine. I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm like, well, let's meet up. You know, I get to meet your husband, I get to meet you over at the hotel. You're like, what the hell? Len Dempsey's going, let's meet at the hotel down the street. What's he doing here, right?
I know this has started since that meeting, you know.
This has started the podcast, I think.
Really?
To me
wow.
It got really interesting because you told me, you know, help me find your friend, Yvette, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I said, I will seek her out. I don't know where she is. And I had no idea she was an admiral. I knew her. I seen her sister pop up on Facebook numerous times. So I hit her up, and all of a sudden you guys were in contact. I'm like, wow, she's an admiral. And I was in the Navy. I was like, so impressed with this, right? And then you were probably like, wow. And then the next thing you know, I'm hitting you up going, oh yeah, my former babysitter from Vicenza, her son needs to get into the school that you're the dean at. And you're like, huh? And was that bizarre too?
Michelle. You know, we just missed each other. She was here in Hilo, and she had texted me, and it was just a really super busy time for me. And I didn't see her text for about 3 days. And by the time I saw it, she was leaving the next morning. So yeah, that was, you know, do you remember her brother, Neil Flaherty?
Neil, I do.
Away with like stomach cancer, I believe. Yeah, I kind of had a close encounter with him at Yaslo Beach. Every girl had a crush on him because I think he was kind of a couple of years. Hang on. Hey, sweetie. Can you not do that right now? Thank you.
What's up, buddy? I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Len. So he's coming over. He's going to say hi.
How you been? It was good seeing you when I saw my Hilo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All her classmates are like, where's she at? So I started the classmate reunion show. So catching up. Yeah. But
yeah, 3/4 actually.
Well, he's doing the dishes, so I shouldn't fight him again on that one. So
you're like, Pick when to complain. Oh, I can't complain during this one. It's a perfect.
Yeah.
He's doing a perfect move here. I'm gonna let him go with that one. So it goes.
So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So we all had
Michelle and Neil. Neil.
all
Yeah.
the girls had a crush on him. He was there that year at the camp. And of course, he was a couple years older than us, so he was totally unavailable to any of us. And for some reason, some weird thing happened where I was down at the beach and nobody else was there. And I don't know, that rarely ever happened. We were always all together as a group. And I was down at the beach and we were about to have our snack, our afternoon snack, where they gave us like bread and Nutella or
Yeah. I remember something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were getting ready to have that. So we were sitting there and we were waiting. Well, I was waiting. And then he came down to the beach. And we both decided to eat our Nutella since we were there and nobody else was there. We decided to be bad together. And then I was sitting down on the beach and he came over and he laid his head on my lap, like on his back, and ate his food. And I was like starstruck. I was like, oh my God, nobody's going to believe this is happening. And of course, by the time everybody else got down there, he had moved on. It was just like, I was just a place to lay his head at that moment.
You didn't have your Instagram photo back then.
I didn't have my phone, so I couldn't like take a selfie. But yeah, I that stuck with me. And then when he passed away, I was just devastated. And I remember going to his memorial service on base, and the entire church was packed. And he died so quickly, like within 3 weeks or something. It seemed quickly to us. It seemed like it happened fast. And but anyway,
he was very, very loved, and all the girls thought he was the most handsome boy in school, and he's a great athlete. And his sister, when we got there, Michelle, my brother and I, we were little boys, and we just came from Boston. And her mother, Mrs. Flaherty, and her husband, they sounded Bostonian, and she looked sort of like my aunt. I'm like, oh, we have relatives here. I'm 5 years old. These are our relatives. They speak the language of the old country. But it was funny because then I guess I later realized that wasn't the case. But still, Michelle was babysitting us because they lived kind of close to us. Mm-hmm. And, and my brother and I were horrible. We were throwing coloring books all over the room and comic books at the time. I remember that. Staying awake to our parents, you better should go to bed. Your parents are going to be home any minute. I'm like, we don't care. We don't care. We were like this. But then here I am many years later after I meet with her. And she's like, yeah, my son's in Hilo. I go, oh, yeah, Melanie's in Hilo. She's like, my son wants to go to the college. I'm like, oh, Melanie. So it's kind of strange how the full circle comes around.
It is.
Right? And her son went to at your school for a little while, I believe.
Yeah. And he's back living in Hilo now. Yeah.
That's pretty wild, huh? He's like, wow, mom's got VIP. He knows some people.
Sometimes people are afraid to call me, or they'll find out my title. And I never introduced myself as Dean Melanie. I always just say, hi, I'm Melanie. And when they find out that I'm the dean, and they're like, oh, sorry to have bothered you. And I'm like, no, that's my job. I'm here. That's what I do. That's what a dean does, is they help people. They help orient you to the system. So
yeah, well, I find that too. It's like, I know some people have some important titles, or they do something that's pretty high up there, and they're like, other people are like, wow, they're I won't. And like I talk with Diane Del Rosso a lot, and she's a general. I understand that. She's a person. She's somebody that we knew, but people are people. I've met a lot of people in my life that are at very high up positions. They're still people at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And they want to remember the good times too. I mean, if you were over here, let's say you're the dean of UCLA, imagine how much more crazy that would be than the school you're at over there in Hilo. They'd be grabbing your time, and then you would actually be that person. I'll call you in 5 years because I have these 900 phone calls I must return, right?
Yeah.
The football team's coming in. We get some alumni that want to do a charity, and then we need this, and you're like, whew, I'm going back to Hilo.
Yeah. I love it here. It's fantastic. I'm so happy to be home.
Well, you're originally from Hawaii, right?
Yeah, I was born on Oahu, and my dad, of course, was in the military, so we just traveled my whole life. And I finally decided when we had lived overseas for many years, and then we had moved back to Minnesota in 2011, and I got a job, and I was happy, and I really learned a lot. And but over a period of time, you know, the winter gets to you, and there was a group from like a traveling culture group from Hawaii that had come to visit our school. And funny enough, and my grandmother had just passed away, and I hadn't really grieved for her she was back in Hawaii, because it was kind of, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe she was gone. So I was sort of in shock for a couple of weeks. And I knew that I'd be going back to Hawaii to the funeral. And so I kind of just pushed it away in the back of my head. And this group came, and they did this hula and dance and drumming performance. And I totally fell apart. I was sobbing. And everybody at my school was kind of looking at me like, we knew you're from Hawaii, but you know,
This is how they celebrate their culture. They're really into it. No,
So,
I'm sorry.
and afterward, I walked around. Yeah, but anyway, it was just the beginning of deciding I needed to be back in Hawaii. So it took me a couple years to find a job.
Well, there's another classmate. I haven't had him on the podcast, but boy, as you locals would say, he can talk story.
Yeah.
And he's he's a Hawaiian guy. He's got the look. I guess he's part Italian Hawaiian. His mom was from near Yugoslavia or something like this. His story is great. He's Kamaki. He's over there. You should look him up.
Oh, yeah.
I'll introduce him to you.
Okay.
He does like local tourism guides and stuff up in the nature and all the woods. Like he's really into all that stuff. Yeah. You know, and when I was visiting, I told him this. I was going to look him up, and I was with some people. People of the island are all different. There's a lot of different ethnicities, and then there's the people that they call the true Hawaiians. They're like they're going to walk and they're going to protest. Don't build by this volcano, or they're going to represent their culture, right? And they've got pride in where they're from and all that stuff. So I'm talking to these guys that I was visiting, and they're part like Puerto Rican and something else. And they're not like, they thought Kamaki was really, because he had the hair and he had the look. They're like, oh, I can't talk to that guy. He's one of them real guys. Like, whoa, we don't want to offend him. Like, I don't know, we can't meet up with him on this trip. I'm like, oh, okay. Whatever. You grew up here. I'm like, I don't know, but you get to understand the culture, right? Yeah. Like they thought he'd be like, oh, what are you doing here with this Howley? What's he doing here? The truth is, me and that guy talked for like 6 hours on the phone and had the greatest time.
Yeah.
And, he brought skateboarding over to Italy, and he was a cool, handsome guy. And he was doing, he was there in your era. You might not remember, he was an older guy, but
I don't remember him.
Well, he's, he was popular, and, skateboarding was just coming out in America. They had the Dogtown and Z-Boy. So these guys from Long Beach with long hair surfer guys brought that up, but then that was also tied in with Hawaiian culture. So it wouldn't be far-fetched for surfers from Hawaii to pick up the skateboarding too. And before you knew it, that was a real big boom in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
It's late
now.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
So, he was bringing it to the school and doing all kinds of stunts, and was like, wowee. And, the woman liked him, and he was very intelligent, very interesting. But it was good to talk to him, and maybe I'll get him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome.
Because Michelle met up with him, and Michelle knew him in school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She was a few years ahead of us.
So I think he was her grade. Do you remember the name, the Tomasinos?
Yeah.
Okay.
What stands out?
Angela Tomasino. There was several others, and he went out with one of the Tomasinos. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was his gig. So he might, it's hard to jog your memory. Like you're like, I don't know all the kids 4 years older. I know in this small window, I hang out with 6th to 8th graders or whatever that was, right?
Yep.
But did you take any of the good like field trips and get all the good culture when you were there?
Oh, yeah. There was this one field trip that we all did to Venice. And I remember at the time, I think it was in 6th grade, And Kara Gordon was kind of the popular girl that everybody followed, and I so wanted to be part of her group. And she had organized all these girls to wear overalls. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember, overalls was a thing back then.
I
And
didn't, it must have went right by me, but okay.
well, a girl thing
What,
probably.
what we remember, right? Where our mind goes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she had organized a bunch of girls to wear their overalls on this trip, and they all wore it with one buckle undone, so hanging down, so the bib kind of hung down on one side. And it was, I know that just sounds ridiculous now, but it was so cool, and I just wanted to be part of her group.
She was a trendsetter.
She was, yeah.
She's gonna listen to this because she likes the podcast. She does.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hi, Kara. Yeah,
So-
she lived pretty close to me, and I always admired her. But we did end up, becoming friends after that. And because I was there till, 8th grade, but I think I just remember that one field trip. And then we also took a field trip to Florence. And I remember seeing, a lot of amazing artwork, and just to be able to do that as a young teenager is just amazing.
So you get to go to the summer camps. That was your furthest getting away from mom and dad. You didn't really get to go
Well,
on the teen club trips, or did you?
I didn't do a teen club trip, but I went on a choir trip down to Naples. And in fact, there was a big earthquake. We had decided to leave Naples early that night after the choir trip. And we were on the bus. And I think we left 2 hours early or an hour early, something like that, because we just ended up having extra time. So we left. And it turned out that the earthquake in Naples hit like exactly that amount of time after we left. And, we didn't notice it. We're on the bus bouncing around anyway. And we didn't know about it until we got home 5 hours later, or however long it takes to drive up there. And it was late at night, so we were all sleeping on the bus anyway.
Isn't it amazing? That
Yeah.
close calls. I have one too.
Mhm.
I was with the teen club, and we were at a roller disco 2 blocks away from a nightclub that get blown up by terrorists. So we get back home, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're okay." We're like, "Of course we're okay." We had no idea. There's no Facebook. There's no news update.
Right.
You could have
Phone
been
text your mom and say, I'm
right.
okay. You're right.
Like if the Twin Towers didn't happen in the technology age, people wouldn't know about it till weeks later. What, in New York City? They wouldn't know. And that was a lot of close calls there.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you go back to after leaving Italy?
We went to Fort Knox, and we were there for.
You were telling me that earlier. Yeah, my memory.
Yeah, we were there. We were there for a long time. What happened was my parents split up at that time, and I stayed with my mom. And my dad ended up going back to Hawaii. And so I ended up going to high school and college there. And then that's from there where I left to go to the Peace Corps in 94. And then I just stayed overseas for about, I don't know, a long
Ever?
time. 15, 16.
Can't be that long. You're only 32. No way it was that long.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. I just turned 53. Can you believe it?
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a weird age in the 50s, and we're really getting back. This takes you down a hypnotic trip into your youth, and then you're there, and then you talk to everybody from there like, hey, we're all still there. Like, are we? I don't know.
Yeah. And then you have all these memories of things that you didn't realize you knew or that were important to you, and they start coming back with all these great feelings. And I really did love it there. It was just, I still think of it as one of the best times of my life.
Wow. It's interesting. I'm going to do this. Like hang on, I'm going to pause for just 1 second.
Okay.
Where is the pause? Yes, and we were back trying to get another guest online. We're here with the famous Melanie Dorado. It looks like the video probably just kept playing. You're like, why are you doing this in the middle of the video, Len? So who did you hang out with at Vicenza?
Oh my gosh. Well, a lot of the girls that I mentioned that lived in Villagio near me, kind of hung out. Yvette Gonzalez, when I left, she was probably my closest friend. We were both in gymnastics together. I remember she had this wicked standing back flip. And she just practiced it relentlessly, and that's how she got to be so good at it. People always look at, I was one of those gymnastics girls that I didn't really practice. Once I learned how to do something, I might
Hope it works out the next time.
yeah, but she just practiced and had that down. That was great. But she was really sweet. So I hung out with her a lot toward the end. Let me think, who else? There's a lot of girls who I remember their first name and I can't remember their last name because they maybe left after 7th grade or something. So, hey, sweetheart, go on this thing, Paul. He's in, I don't know if you can hear him. He's in there like.
I need him on other podcasts. He makes for more entertainment in the background. Yeah.
You might want to cut that out. I don't know.
No, but, I'm not worried about that. No, we're just show people how it really is. And you don't remember all the names. I mean, we are asking you to jog your memory, and you've had so much life between here.
Yeah. Well, there was a girl named Julie. She was kind of a strawberry blonde, really thin. We were in the Hobbit play together, and she played, what's that guy's name? The one with the ring.
She must have been so hot. No, I'm joking.
She was so sweet.
Yeah, she was.
Played that role.
I'm joking.
And then I remember there was a girl named Lori Perkins. I wasn't super close to Lori, but I do remember her.
I remember her.
Yeah, she was kind of tall. Blonde hair. Yeah, just a lot of people, a lot of different people.
But you do remember who I had? We called you up when I was visiting the Stokes brothers. That must have been a surprise.
Yeah,
Harry was the same grade as you.
Yeah. He was my little boyfriend for a while there.
Yeah, that's why he had to call. He's like,
made better friends.
He told me, he's like, I'm thinking of, I need to rekindle that. I'm like, no, I'm joking. He didn't do that. Sorry, Carrie. Please send me the Christmas present still. I didn't mean to ruin the opportunity. Whatever.
He was a sweetheart. Oh, we had so much fun. I remember, actually, one time there was a group of kids. I don't even know why. Somebody must have had a birthday party on Villagio. And so there were a bunch of boys in the group, which we didn't have a whole lot of on Villagio for whatever reason. There just weren't a whole lot of guys living there at that time. And
must have been the better years. I didn't know about this demographic research, but go on.
So somebody must have had a party and somebody got a hold of alcohol. So all of us were running around late at night, and I must have spent the night with somebody because I was never allowed out after dark. But all I remember is a group of us, like 12 or 15 kids, running all over Villagio. And I think we were drinking beer. I don't know, but I just remember we were all kind of doing crazy things. We weren't drunk really per se, but we were just being silly.
The euphoric buzz and showing off. The thing is, we had a desire to show off there. I know I did. There was always the one-upmanship, like, well, you can do 2 flips. I'm going to do 3 and do it off the back of Hakeem's hut behind the school. Right?
So we all got this crazy idea, and as you drive into Villagio, there were all these trees, like pine trees that had spaces in between, and we decided to all line up in between the trees and moon the next car that came through, and we did it, and then we just thought that we were the greatest. We thought that was hilarious, and I remember running around, and I think Gina Lewis might have been part of that. Yeah, but Carrie was there. I remember Carrie.
Dina was closer to your age. Gina was her older sister, I believe.
Yeah, I really liked Dina a lot.
Yeah, they were in gymnastics, and you knew Diane too. Mm-hmm. So Diane was living there then. I think they moved to Verona later. They came back later, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and her sister Julie. Julie was
that's right.
Yeah. I believe Julie was in my grade. You were class 85. I was class 86. So I'm giving you some context. You're like, Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't remember anything. I'm kidding.
I don't remember you, but Diane and I were really close. Yeah, she was a really nice person.
Well,
So,
did you have, I mean, just this is the thing, like I told that to Diane. I said, you know that I'm always curious what makes people tick, how they became what they are. And I do think a lot of people did well. We don't all have to be billionaires or millionaires. That's not the definition of success, but to start somewhere and be happy with your life, that's the number one. Be happy with your life, you're winning. It doesn't matter what lottery ticket you get, you're at the top. I don't care what you drive, how much you bench press, how tall you are, none of that matters. You know, that's where it is. That's the truth. But
yeah, being happy.
I'm still so impressed with her and Yvette that
Oh,
to your little, does that blow you away? Like, you're like, well, I just decided to be, you know, over here, and you would not have imagined they went in that direction, did you?
I know, and I remember doing sleepovers with them, and going to the swimming pool and just running around, being silly.
They weren't playing army with you. No, I'm let's dress up. Imagine if that was the funny truth. I'm making light of this.
Yeah.
Imagine that was, they're like, okay, I'm in charge of the Navy, you be in charge of the Army, and okay, and then Melanie, you're in the middle. You're one of our troops. You're like, wait a second. And then they grew up to be that way. That would make sense. But at that point, you had no clue.
Aspects of their personality, looking back on it now, probably were clues to that. Like I talked about Yvette, how she was just so
Driven,
regimented in her practice of gymnastics. And Diane was kind of like that too, with her studies. And one of the things I remember about Diane was she really stayed out of the drama. She kind of held herself above that, and I always admired that about
so did her sister.
Yeah,
they were great at that. They were right there, right smooth in the nice sweet spot, not good, not bad. They were just perfect and great at school and everything that they did. So exactly. But if there was any social politics or issues or anything going on, or pick a side on the school or anything like that, they were smooth right there.
Right.
Yeah, that's what do you call being having good PR skills?
I don't know.
I'm kidding. No, but they're both very nice, and I've chatted with them back and forth. And I admire anybody who's done well and done things and came from Vicenza, because what are the statistical odds out of any high school that small that you're going to turn out so many people that do interesting, great things on this planet, right?
Yeah.
The school's got, we're not all a bunch of movie stars or famous professional athletes, but, most people focused in business or the military or scholastics and professors and scientists. And it's really interesting to see what everybody becomes. And that's what makes it, cool. And we're all in Italy together. Maybe if we were like a high school from Indiana, we wouldn't be having a podcast. Hey, call Johnny. He still lives down the street. Where's Billy? How about Michelle? Oh, Michelle's, she's in her third marriage. She's over here. Let's get her on the podcast. And it's like, it wouldn't be the same kind of podcast as this, because I think that a lot of us were going to get into a rocket ship and travel the world. And a lot of us have, you have, I have, Diane has, Yvette has by far. Yeah. And there's many other classmates, right?
Yeah. I really do think traveling frequently changes your perspective of the world. My oldest daughter, who, kind of grew up with us in the Peace Corps. My husband, as I said, worked for the Peace Corps. And I was a Peace Corps volunteer at one time. That's how we met. But because we raised our children in that environment, they just have a completely different perspective on life and what it means to be American. And in some ways, we're, having lived overseas for so many years, we're much more thankful to be American than and we understand the real value of a blue passport, as we used to say. Thank God for this little blue book,
right?
Because it can take us back out of anything that's happening in the world. We can get back to the best country in the world.
Get out of trouble free card.
Yeah, but at the same time, it also gave us, I don't want to offend anyone, I guess is what I'm that's why I'm having trouble kind of saying what I want to
Putting
say.
it into context. Well,
Yeah.
you
Like
see,
I
you do see
remember,
the shortcomings because we are not a unified culture in America because we have so many segments and pockets.
yeah.
So I think America did have a culture at one time, but it was like the All in the Family or Leave It to Beaver kind of culture, maybe in the 50s, and the Richie Cunningham Happy Days and the Apple Pie America. And then as time went on and disco happened, that just destroyed everything.
Tie it all back to disco.
Right. But no, but when you see a warm culture, when my wife, she wants us to move to Spain, wants us to move to the Canary Islands. I love it there. We're in North Carolina now. I love it here too. But I like Spain because I can live 10x my life because of the cost of living. But I
Hmm.
like the food. I like the culture. I love the family. I like to see parents walking with their little kids on the street. Like in
Hmm.
California, you didn't see kids playing on the street. They were so worried about somebody in a van trying to
Hmm.
kidnap their kids. Like every kid was a kidnapping target. I'm like, no, they're all locked in their house. They're not living freely out running in the fields. Like we would grow up with the North 40 and a Frisbee or,
Right.
a rock, a stick in a forest and go,
Yeah.
whatever that might be,
As long as we have to stay indoors, we were good. Yeah.
right?
But I remember, after 9/11 coming back to the States, because experiencing that from overseas was really odd.
Right.
Uh, for one thing, when it happened, it was late at night for us. It was like 9 or 10 at night, and I got a email from my mom, and it was just
Hmm.
2 lines saying, "Oh my God, the world, you need to get online or get on TV and watch." And we were living in Mongolia, and there was not English news on at that time.
Right.
You only had the English stations on for a couple hours a day, and that just wasn't the time. So we flipped to channels until we saw the um, the news
Towers.
in
Yeah.
Chinese with English news in the background. They were talking over it, but we could see the video, and we
Hmm.
could kind of catch words. And we watched as the second tower fell, and we were just like blown away. And then the next morning, talking to all the other Americans, they were like, "What? Huh? What?" Because they had been asleep, or they just hadn't heard about it yet. And so then we were warned by the embassy, be really careful throughout the next year or so. Be really careful how you dress when you travel. Don't wear American flag.
Hmm.
Try to dress like an American with a ball
Don't
cap and
don't wear your evil Knievel leather outfit. Don't dress.
yeah, I
Don't.
mean, they said, try to just blend in,
Right.
is what they were saying. And we were like, gosh, we never thought about that before. And then we got back to the States shortly after that, and there were flags everywhere, and everybody was really angry and hurt. And we had it gave us the realization that we saw America differently, having lived outside.
Right.
Um, we still loved our country, but at the same time, we were more critical, I think, in our thinking of politics and America's stature in the whole world, in the world as a whole.
Right.
And it wasn't all just baseball and apple pie.
Right. Well, you get outside of it and you get to see it from some foreigner's perspective, how they look at it, and you get outside of your local news that's just bombarding you with what to think and what to say.
Mm-hmm.
You get off of social media, you get off the grid, and you get into a culture and you talk to people that have thoughts, that actually think, that aren't formulating their opinions on something they just saw on Facebook, right?
Right.
And it's different. Like I go and I meet people. I get along well in all kinds of different countries because I respect their culture. It's the first thing I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there used to be a saying in the military, don't be the ugly American. Because some
Mm-hmm.
GI would get drunk and go streaking downtown to the middle of, the square or something. Hey, yeah, I'll show you America. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this country's invading us with naked soldiers running through the square. But that's the kind of thing that would happen at times, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you got to learn respect. Well, even where you're at, the islands, oh,
Mm-hmm.
be careful. Show respect, or the locals will show you the door. That's pretty
Yeah.
much how it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I understand that. I've traveled all over. I've been all over the world, and not everywhere, but quite a few places. And I think about that, and I think a lot of things have changed here. I think there's so much, and without opening up the PC thing, or I'm this or I'm that, I'm right here in the middle, just observing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna pick a team and tell you I'm
Yeah.
a this or I'm a that. No,
Right.
because I want to be free thinking. Because
Mhm.
once I pick a team on something, I give
Mhm.
up my ability to think for myself, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because now I'm like, whatever they say, that's who I am. And
Mm.
it's kind of like, that's my
Yeah.
perspective on all the politics thing. I
Yeah.
want people to be happy, love to be pride in the country. People don't see what other countries do, and at the top, how they all have secret wars and trade deals and things that none of us are privy to, that
Mhm.
we have no idea why this country's pissed off at us. Or we
Mhm.
have no idea because we're over here in Ohio, going to the mall, that somebody over in Tunisia is mad because of X. We don't
Yeah.
know. We don't know everything that's happening. But, coming back to America without a total culture, I think of my culture as the people I grew up with in Vicenza. That's
Mhm.
why I have you guys all here. And it's like, all I see is bad news out there, people fighting over this and that. Why bother? People
Yeah.
arguing. It's endless. It's an endless argument. It's a riddle with no answer, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I refuse. I refuse to argue about politics with anyone because it
yeah,
doesn't, yeah, ultimately it doesn't matter how I feel about you as a person. You
right.
know, you can have completely opposite views from me and we can still connect.
That's the truth. You got to
Mhm.
have that open-mindedness. I
Mhm.
see people like, I'm this. I'm like, okay, good luck. Good luck with
Mhm.
that. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm a coach's son. I don't wear jerseys of other pro football players. I don't
Mhm.
wear some basketball players' jersey. I don't worship them. I didn't play in the game. They won the game. I respect that they did a good job, but I'm not that guy.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Right. So some people do. Our team, we're going to kick your butt. I'm like, I mean, you're going to eat popcorn harder than the other guy on the other side of the
That's funny. Ah,
Yeah, we're getting deep thoughts with Melanie and Len tonight
yeah,
at midnight.
popcorn.
Showing up on the Cougar
I
Land
will join
podcast.
the contest because I am a popcorn lover. I think that's why it made me laugh so hard.
But you get it, Melanie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the one thing, and I try to tell that to other classmates, like at the bottom line, we were all classmates. And
Mm,
we knew each other before we had politics. We did.
yeah.
We knew each other when we were kids. We might have known the rankism, as we spoke of, like what did your dad do or your mom do on
Yeah.
base? Were they a colonel? Were they a sergeant? Were they spec 4? What were they, right? So, but that didn't determine who you were going to become. There's plenty of enlisted kids who, I know one who was an enlisted kid who became an officer and who's a big, big, big executive, one of the top tier. And guess what? If we based it on that little thought, that short-sightedness as children, well,
Mhm.
his dad's a E5, he's going to go nowhere. Well, no, now you work for him. You never know. You
You know
never
what?
know. No.
I really wish that we could reconnect with some of our teachers. Some of them are probably passed away now. I know that Mr. Pellerito is gone. I was so shocked when I found out. It's like he was supposed to be alive forever. What the heck? I always remembered him as he was, and I expected him to just always be there. Um, but there were lots of other teachers that we had there too. And there's this one science teacher in particular, and I cannot remember his name, but I loved his class, and he gave me so
Mr.
much.
Chula or
I
Richie?
don't know.
Mr.
No,
Richie or Chula? I think they were the
doesn't.
science teachers.
Yeah, I don't
Unless
know.
there's another one I'm missing or I'm off because I skipped a lot of classes.
Well, it just my memory is not very good when it comes to names. And
Yeah. Well, you drink a lot of booze. I mean,
I was such a drinker. You know what? I probably had 2 beers the whole time I was there, and I just remember those particular times that I
and
did.
those were the last ones ever.
I, you know what's funny is I actually don't drink today, but not because I don't want to, but because
No cravings?
it makes me sick. I guess I'm such a lightweight. I can drink about a half a cup of wine, and then after that I start to feel nauseous. So
That's
nope.
it.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's actually good. Saves you money.
It does. Yeah.
Imagine if we didn't like
My
candy
husband makes up for
much.
it. He's got to have a beer a day.
He's an awesome guy. So who else would you like to see on the podcast? What other friends would you like to see pop up from the past?
Oh, there was a really good friend that I had named Missy McCraney.
I remember
Um,
Missy.
yeah, and she and I were really close. And then after we left Italy, she left about the same time too. She moved to Florida. And I actually went out there and visited her and spent a summer with her. And then we lost touch after that. And I really have always missed her and wondered what she's up to and what she's doing. She had a bunch of big brothers too.
She did.
Yeah. But she was somebody that I'll always remember and think about.
Well, you know who's going to watch this? I'm going to send this to Yvette. She's going to be like, oh, there's Melanie. Unplugged, of course. Yeah.
I know. I would love to talk to her. I should just call her. I'm one of those people that I rarely ever talk to people on the phone. They have to call me just because I have this kind of phobia of calling people. I don't know why.
I'm an ex-salesperson. I'm retired, but I'll tell you, I'll call anybody till they say, go to hell. I'm like, okay, I guess you're not qualified to take the phone call next. It's like,
You're not qualified to talk to me.
Right. No. But the truth is that I know about this. Like people I know, like, well, you never call. I'm like, there's two of us.
Mm-hmm.
We can both call. Let's call. You know what I mean? And people finally get the message, and I'll just call. Hey, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting called. I'm like, yeah, you're getting called because I know you're not going to call, and it's not a big deal. But you're just going to call them and say hi because I've seen, like, my mother grow. Had great friends in Italy, and they stopped being in touch for decades because neither one of them, they had the same phobia you did about calling their friend. Isn't that weird? It just builds, but it goes nowhere. They all want to talk to you. That's why I started the podcast, to open up the phone lines.
Yeah.
And, so people can contribute to your new, you're starting an online university, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love catching you with the abstract.
Don't me about that yet. No. Oh, goodness. Well, anybody can come to Hawaii Community College online. Because of COVID, almost all our classes are online right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll try to connect you with Kamaki and a few other people,
so
some local friends, I'm sure your husband would like him. They're kind of closer, in eras. And he's a cool ass dude. He's really neat. I don't know who else is over there, but I know that John Rosario remembered. Do you remember Rosario, Leilani, and John?
On Facebook, yeah.
Yeah. So they're over in Guam. I was trying to get Leilani on there because she used to remember when you could. And before I jump off here, but you remember when you could leave the cafeteria and go eat at the teen club, and they had food? They had yummier food, right? Better ice cream and other stuff, right? I don't know why they did it to compete with the school, but it was cool. The only thing I wanted at that school cafeteria was pizza day. It was that rectangular pizza that they made. I liked it for sure. It was the Costco pizza of the era.
It's so funny because, now that I'm an adult and when I make pizza, I always make it rectangular. My kids always ask me why I didn't make a round pizza. And I'd say, I don't know. This is just how I remember pizza being made. And I mean, obviously we ate round pizzas when we went out, but every time I make pizza, I always make it rectangular. And I wonder if that's some carryover from that time. They had French fries too.
They did. That was happening over there. Now, I have one last. Did you have SEB at your house?
SEB?
The American TV, Southern European.
Oh, yes, we did. In fact, that's how I first learned about the Rolling Stones. I remember watching that with my dad. And we both were looking at each other because Mick Jagger was, singing with his big lips. I have weird memories like that.
Your dad's like, you're not going to marry him either. Nobody. When you're 18, I will build a tower of chastity and you shall live there for the remainder of your life and write poetry. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That was my dad. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm being hard on your dad. That's just too much.
No,
too much material here.
He and I are so close. And he's one of the main reasons I moved back to Hawaii, was to be close to him.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is he on a different island or same island as you guys?
Yeah, unfortunately, he's on Oahu. So, but it's in normal times, I'm over there a couple times a week. But because of COVID, all travel for the university has been stopped.
So you're kind of locked in place.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, I'm working from home now, which I actually love. I love working from home. Get to spend more time with the family and
Right. No, my wife likes it too. She's all remote. We can live at the beach. We live on the beach. We couldn't live
yeah,
on the beach if she had to be by the job that was by the buildings and the place in the middle of all the traffic. So
exactly.
it changes your options. That's what the only positive thing I'll say of COVID is the
hmm
ability to work remotely to places. There's places where people did it before, but they weren't opening that option to you until X. We will do this until we will only in an extreme. Oh, it's extreme. Damn it. We were going to try to make you go to work that day too, right?
Yeah.
Did they reopen the schools at any time and then close them down again? Did that happen or?
Oh yeah, and that it's a mess. When upper administration asks me what I recommend, they always ask our opinions and then they do what they want anyway. But we always say, just make a decision and stick to it. Don't go back and forth because, there are a lot of people that are complaining that they would prefer to teach face to face, but you can't jump back and forth. You really have to just stick with your guns. You're either going to allow face to face or you're going to go online. If you think there's a chance that face to face is not going to work because of COVID, just tell everybody they're going to go online. They're going to grumble about it, but you got to do it because you can't, for the student's sake, you can't switch modalities in the middle of a class like that. Too much gets lost, and the learning curve is too high for a lot of people to manage. And
There is a thing to teaching. Online's one thing, but it's like comedy, trying to get laughs. Comedians complain they don't have their audience, they can't read or vibe off of them. That's the transference of knowledge. It's the form and the style of communication. One could argue that online replaces everything and we all work in the cloud. But there is some limitations to it, I believe, because you'll start watching it like a boring documentary after a while and tap out. And you'll miss that knowledge didn't connect with you for some reason. At least I believe that.
yeah.
I can imagine doing my old job in real estate. Hi, I want to list your house. How are you today? And I'm over here trying to sell you on my podcast show. That would be hilarious. I'd do it. I'd do it.
Our community college, we have a lot of hands-on courses of study programs that we have not been able to put online. We have carpentry, and we've got electricians courses, and we've got car repair and painting, in addition to the liberal arts path that people take. So those people have really struggled because they're trying to socially distance and still continue to teach at the same time. So we have fewer students in a class, which lowers the income of the school, and it puts those programs in danger. And those are really good programs that we need to have. People need
trades. Trades are very important right now.
Yeah,
very much.
So we're in a difficult time, and I'm just really hoping that we can get past it soon.
Well, they're waiting for all these vaccines to come out here real quick. We could have been saying the same thing 18 podcasts ago, but we're going to come to it somehow.
Are you going to take it?
Pardon? You know what?
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm not intimidated. My friend just took it. He's over in Dubai. He was given the shot by the UAE because he's got this famous athlete, and they love the athlete and they love the coach of the athlete. So they gave it to him, and he seems to be doing fine. There was like a follow-up shot in one and then the other. I don't know which country they got it from, but they got it in like Abu Dhabi or Dubai. So, he seems to be fine. So I want to see the other canaries in the coal mine. And then, of course, there's the other side, like, what will this do to me long term? Will I have liver enzyme problems? Is this the conspiracy theory? Are they putting nanotechnology into my brain?
Right.
Like, they already got you, man, on Facebook.
Latest
everything else on the cell phone. Right.
Right. Gosh, we don't even question how this thing right here is affecting our health.
Right. We've already gave up. I mean, they're going to know everything about you. They do. They're bored already. We're going to know the really meaningless thoughts that Len can have watching. Go on.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God.
The vaccine. You're going to tell me about.
Oh, right. Oh, the latest is that it makes women,
Infertile or something?
yeah,
Sterile.
sterile. Yeah.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what to think. I'm just kind of waiting for the whole thing to start. I mean, it hasn't even started yet, really, mass immunization. So
it's
we'll see.
bizarre.
My husband can't have it because he had an autoimmune disorder
Hmm.
that was actually triggered by a vaccine. So he'll never be able to take another vaccine in his life. So I always get the flu shot, and I do it for him because I don't want to get him sick. So ultimately, I'll probably do it.
Yeah. Well, it's to each
And
their
I
own.
doubt
Everybody who thinks the magical evil powers that work with Dr. Evil are going to put microchips that trace you, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
They already have one.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know,
care. They
this
can
guy.
take me.
This guy.
I'm like, I
Right.
don't have anything to hide.
Melanie is at the
My life
beach
is
again.
boring.
Melanie is having ice cream at the beach again. We know what's up now.
Yeah. You know
And
what?
popcorn. Her and her husband are watching
Garage sales. What is up with that?
garage sales.
Yeah. That's like my primary entertainment on the weekends is I get up and go to garage sales.
Yeah, I
It's
guess that's the happening thing. Anything particular that you look for?
Oh gosh, you know what?
Surfboards.
I'm a sucker for any art materials because I do art. So any kind of like I have so much material I will never use because I can't stop buying it. Around this time of year, I look for Christmas stuff because I don't like to pay full price for Christmas decorations.
Smart. I respect a good budget
I
shopping.
buy almost all of my kitchen stuff used because you can.
Right.
I spend a lot of money on really nice pans, but then all of my utensils and stuff I buy at garage sales. Like my daughter moved out to an apartment recently and started college, and we completely 100% fitted her apartment out with things we got at garage sales. It was great.
Cool.
So yeah, it's fun. It's a way that my husband and I spend the weekends. We have a routine. We get up, we go to garage sales, we go down to the market, and we get a Thai salad, green papaya salad for lunch. And then we go to the market and we pick up our fruit and vegetables for the week.
Have you been back to that hotel that you guys met me at for like lunch or
I go
something?
there occasionally, yeah, for lunch or something. I haven't been there during COVID, so it's been, the whole year since March.
I forget the name of it, but it was real pretty right there in the water.
Yeah.
But it's like one of the nicer hotels there downtown Hilo.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. Yeah, you can actually go there and just have brunch and then hang out by the pool, and
Yeah.
they're really laid back around here.
It is laid back. They're not giving you a hard time.
No.
Excuse me, are you with the Worthingtons? Well, what are you doing sitting in these chairs? No. They're like, hey, brah, shocking. Well, yeah, see ya. No, it was cool. I get to really know a lot about that area. And it's weird to me because like one of my best friends, Mark Parkins, he grew up in Hawaii a bit, and he's Howley, but he talks total pidgin. He's funny.
Uh-huh.
And he'll go surfing, then all of a sudden he's down there talking to the locals in Texas in pidgin. They're like, huh? Yeah, shoots, brah. Hey. Yeah, he's talking to them. They're like, what? Oh, hey, man, what are you trying to say? We're Texas surfers. No. God darn it. I didn't understand a damn thing. No, I'm joking. But he loves that place. He spent time in Hilo. I ran it, we hung out in Maui together. I like Maui. Yeah, Maui's one of my favorite islands over there. Hilo was cool. It's a different experience.
It's
there's
slower, smaller. Yeah.
It's not as commercial, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I love about it. I never thought I would want to live anywhere but Oahu, where Honolulu is.
Yeah. Too
And I was
crowded now.
missed it so much. I was even ready to deal with that bumper to bumper traffic every day, just to be back with my family and to be back here. And then we got this job. I got this job here, and I came early in the morning. My interview, I think, was at 1, but I got here at about 8 or 9 in the morning, and I rented a car and drove all over just to kind of get a feel for the place and see if it was someplace I could live, if my family would be happy here. I drove around and looked at what kind of houses were for sale, and I called and said, how much is that house, and things like that, just to to see if it was the right place. And it just felt good. There was nothing
More of an
that,
economic, more of a balance there. Little high
yes,
price, more high price spiking in the Maui desired mega tourism
or
area.
even on the other side of our island where it's,
Oh,
because this is
Kona,
the rainy
Kona,
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so Kona is the sunny side, and they also have the white sand beaches.
right.
We have rock beaches over here, which I find beautiful and lovely, but commercially people like that side better. And so it's more expensive to live on that side of the island. So it was just perfect for us. And we have moved here, and now it's my favorite island.
Well, I guess, going forward, if anybody that, since Vicenza never went to college, they can go to college in Hilo and then get a real career going in their 50s. I recommend it. You hit up
Yeah.
Melanie, or if your kids want to go to school there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You already took care of one alumni. You took care of, Michelle's son, Michelle
Yeah.
Flaherty's son.
Call me. I'll walk them through the process.
Right. So sign them up. They're like, Melanie, how do you keep signing all these people? They're all from Italy. It's a weird demographic. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on here. So
Thank you.
it's going out to all your friends. They'll probably be hitting you up soon.
I hope so. Yeah. Call me.